more Tory MPs voting against than in favour. Here's our political editor, Nick Robinson.
Remember that David Cameron announced this idea of gay marriage to applause at his party conference. And yet tonight, 139 Conservative MPs refused to support him. 18 members of his own government and many others abstained. Compare those numbers with, and there were opponents in other parties, 22 for Labour and 4 for the Liberal Democrats.
Indicator's not working.
After 10 years of campaigning and
Headlamp
apology
failure,
of sorts,
brake failure.
thousands of women and girls forced to work in Ireland's
dials
Magdalen
moving.
laundries.
For fuck's sake.
Stigma that the branding together of all the residents, all 10,000 in the Magdalen
This is
laundries
not fucking
needs to be removed.
fit
and
for
should have been
purpose.
removed long before this. And I really am sorry that that never happened. And I regret that it never happened.
That was the Irish Taoiseach Enda Kennedy responding to a report that found that the Irish state was directly involved in the Catholic workhouses which operated from 1922 to 1996. For many of the victims, the apology wasn't enough. Mabel Rock is from the campaign group Justice for Magdalens.
He apologised for the stigma, but his apology went no further. And to be honest, what would be the best thing for these women and what would release them from any suffering they are still enduring would be a real apology for the abuse they suffered and real compensation for what they went through.
The jury's heard the leading economist Vicky Price went to a newspaper to try to destroy the career of her former husband, Chris Huhne, after he left her for another woman. She's pleaded not guilty to perverting the course of justice by taking points on her driving licence for the former cabinet minister. She says Mr Huhne had coerced her. BBC News has learned that the head of RBS's investment bank is to step down over the fixing of the LIBOR interbank rate. John Hurricane is the highest profile casualty at the bank since it emerged last year that dozens of bankers had manipulated the benchmark rate. Chris Skinner is a banking analyst and chairman of the Financial Services Club.
Some person point out and say, well, he's gone, so